Welcome in, everybody. Forget what you think you know about justice. Welcome to the Virtual Juror, where snark is reality, but evidence is royalty. Where at first we look at the FACS, or facts and conjecture shared, before we get into the real stuff. In a tale as old as time, or at least as old as this legal drama, Donna Adelson's defense team argued that the state's case was about as solid as a house of cards in a hurricane. They claimed the prosecution had all the juicy motive, but none of the actual evidence connecting her to the murder. However, the prosecution wasn't having it. They countered by essentially saying, "Au contraire, mon frère," and brought up everything from a planner with the victim's car info to a frantic attempt to flee the country. In the end, the judge sided with the prosecution, concluding that when you put all of the pieces together, it's a puzzle with a pretty clear picture, and the case was allowed to proceed. In a dramatic courtroom saga, the defense has entered their case in chief. Their first witness was Ann Cunningham, a retired special education teacher, and she took the stand to defend her friend, Donna Adelson, painting a picture of a loving mother who was simply worried and hysterical after the murder of her former son-in-law. The witness described a friendship born from a Christmas Day dental emergency and testified that she found Donna to be as harmless as a dental floss dispenser. However, the plot thickens as the witness also reveals that after her son's conviction, Donna was not only distraught but also in an excited state and considering a one-way trip to clear her head. Despite this, the witness maintains her belief in the Adelsons' innocence, even disagreeing with the jury's verdict regarding Charlie Adelson. In a tale of friendship and teeth-cracking incidents, Ron Gutterson, a longtime acquaintance of Harvey Adelson, took the stand. He testified that he and his partner had a heart so big they not only lent their home to the devastated Adelsons during their son's trial, but also agreed to manage their rental properties. Gutterson's testimony painted a picture of a friend happily helping out. He even said, "That's what friends are for," even if it involves getting tangled up in a high-profile legal drama. In a whirlwind of a trial, a family friend of nearly 40 years, Richard Chagrin, took the stand to talk about his travel-savvy pal, Donna Adelson. After her son's conviction, Donna and her husband were barraged by media and wanted a quick escape, so they enlisted their jet-setting friend to help them book a one-way trip to Vietnam. Mr. Chagrin, ever the helpful friend, even suggested a 90-day visa, and confirmed that a typical Jewish grandmother would definitely not suggest dressing her grandchildren in SS uniforms. A rather unexpected turn in the testimony. A forensic examiner, Kelsey Guay, took the stand to prove that a spreadsheet can be a witness for the defense, even when it's just about phone calls. She dove into a sea of call records and emerged with a revelation. The state's numbers were a bit overinflated, due to a pesky little thing called voicemail. After manually cleaning up the data, she found that while the number of calls was lower, Charlie was still Donna Adelson's top contact, followed by her voicemail, and then her husband. She also confirmed that Donna's phone didn't exactly hang out near Charlie's house on the day of the murder, and that the two might have been using a third-party app to chat, which wouldn't show up in a regular call log. The plot thickened even more when another witness, Mrs. Cunningham, was recalled and had to clarify that they must have used an app called Viber, as WhatsApp didn't have voice calls at the time. It seems, in this case, the truth is in the data, but only if you manually deduplicate it. In a scene straight out of a legal thriller, two private investigators, Tarana Khan and Eddie Varnes, took the stand for the defense. Miss Khan, a pen and paper kind of gal, testified that a key witness, Patricia Bird, never mentioned a confession or any shady deals from Donna Adelson. Ms. Khan, a mitigation specialist and paralegal for the federal defenders, was hired by the defense team to interview Ms. Bird. She did not record the interview, taking notes by hand instead. On the other hand, Mr. Varnes, a private investigator with 27 years of experience, brought the drama. He recounted a conversation where an inmate allegedly used the word extortion to describe a plan to get money from the Adelsons after they had him killed. Mr. Varnes also testified that the witness, Miss Bird, told him that Katie McBanoa had said the Adelsons had offered the man $1 million apiece to move to South Florida. Like Miss Khan, He was also instructed not to record the interview, but he took notes. In a classic case of he said, she said, where even the witness lists seem to have a mind of their own. In a jailhouse plot twist, an inmate named Drina Bernhardt took the stand to spill the tea on Donna Adelson. Bernhardt claimed that she and Adelson intentionally put on a show for the surveillance cameras with a pink notebook that had a daisy on it. Their goal was to craft a script for Bernhardt's trial testimony. The instructions were simple. Bernhardt was to copy the script in her own handwriting and then hand the original notebook back to Adelson. Detective Josh Turner, like a good director, obtained and reviewed the surveillance footage from the detention center. He confirmed that the video showed Bernhardt and Adelson at a table, both writing and discussing something, which corroborated Bernhardt's story. He also noted that it appeared to be dumb luck that Bernhardt had the notebook with her when she met with the state's attorney's office, as she wasn't aware of the planned meeting beforehand. This testimony, based on a pink notebook and surveillance video, proved that sometimes the most dramatic performances are found in a detention center. In a blink and you'll miss it testimony, a realtor named Tim Kelly took the stand to recount the time he showed houses to the Adelson family. It seems that Dan Markel, the former son-in-law, had hired him to show houses to Donna and Harvey Adelson. The whole family, including Dan, Wendi, and the children, were all present for the showings. However, despite the group effort, the Adelsons did not end up buying a single home from him. The interaction took place in November 2011, about a year before Dan and Wendi's divorce, proving that house hunting with the in-laws can be a dramatic affair, no matter the circumstances. In a legal soap opera, a family law attorney with 37 years of experience, Kristen Adamson, took the stand to recount her time representing Wendi Adelson in her divorce from Dan Markel. What began as a run-of-the-mill divorce quickly went off the rails. Adamson told Wendi that her request to relocate the children to Miami was a long shot, a 50-50 at best. She was right. The judge denied the request, stating that Wendi hadn't proven that it was in the best interest of the children. Wendi, though upset, was calm and resigned to the outcome, and the parties eventually settled at a subsequent mediation. The drama didn't end there. After a marital settlement agreement was reached, Dan Markel paid only a fraction of the $120,000 he owed Wendi for her share of the house and the $10,000 in attorney's fees. He then responded to a motion to enforce the agreement by filing multiple pleadings that accused Wendi of fraud for allegedly hiding assets. The situation escalated to the point where Markel's pleadings even accused Adamson of fraud, which she described as very personal, and forced her to withdraw as counsel to become a potential witness in the case. It seems this was anything but a run-of-the-mill divorce, despite what Miss Adamson claims. In a legal battle of words, an expert witness and family law attorney, Linda Bailey, took the stand to give her professional opinion on the Markel divorce. This after the order of sequestration was violated for the second time by the defense. Miss Bailey sat in the courtroom watching the testimony of the witness before her, Miss Adamson. It's also of note that these two were even in the same law class at FSU. The judge took a few minutes to determine if she'd be able to give her opinion. In the end, Judge Everett decided to protect the record and the case and allowed her to testify. However, it wasn't without a strong warning and admonishment to the defense. She testified that based on her review of the case, the divorce was not unusual or highly contentious at all, and was, in fact, a routine and amicable proceeding. She explained that all issues were settled within 10 months, which she considers a brief period for a case involving a relocation request. She also noted that there were no discovery fights or third-party subpoenas, which are common in highly contested divorces. Miss Bailey characterized Dan Markel's filings after the divorce as not based in law and described them as verbose, hyperbolic, and containing inflammatory language, but ultimately having no foundation. She specifically addressed the grandmother motion he filed in March 2014, stating that it was baseless and that she believed a judge would have been unreceptive to it. She concluded that the relocation issue was settled when Wendi Adelson capitulated and waived her right to appeal the denial of the request. She clarified that a party can still negotiate relocation with an ex-spouse even after a court denial, and that financial incentives are often used in these situations. The testimony came across as less about substance and more about repeating what was said by the witness prior. But the prosecution didn't object to it being cumulative, so it was allowed in. Marissel Descalzo's testimony was a fascinating twist in the trial's narrative. It was less about what she said on the stand and more about what her presence represented, the ghost of defense's past. She was the one who, in the beginning, had to deal with the rather dramatic issue of Donna Adelson's inhumane treatment in jail, which included allegations of being forced to eat with her hands. Descalzo's testimony highlighted her role in filing motions to address those claims, and her initial representation of Donna. It also brought to the forefront the curious case of the waivable conflicts with Donna's son Charlie as a result of their shared legal counsel. Her brief time on the stand as one of the defense's final witnesses served as a reminder of the many legal hurdles and theatrical side plots that have defined this case before the defense finally rests. Sara Newhouse, a victim's advocate, took the stand. She was present for Wendi Adelson's emotional phone call to her mother Donna right after Dan Markel's death. On the stand, Newhouse described Donna's reaction as a normal amount of upset and shocked, confirming she heard no weeping or wailing on the call. The real show was over a potential recording of the call. The defense wanted to play it, but the prosecution objected to two key parts that had not been edited out: Wendi's statement about being the worst day of her life, and Newhouse telling Wendi she did an awesome job on the call when she called her mom. The defense, flustered, agreed to remove the snippets. The recording was not even played for the jury, as the defense was given more time to make the edits. It appears the defense has reached the end of their case. The defense team, in a bold move, requested more time to discuss with their client whether she would testify. The judge, in a moment of what can only be described as judicial sass, pointed out that they'd had all of pretrial, the entire trial, the day they left early, and an extra long lunch to figure that out. Not to mention, they also had a 3-day weekend. In the end, Donna Adelson, who spent the pretrial proceedings basically shouting, "I'm totally gonna testify," from the rooftops, decided against it. While probably the best decision for Donna to make legally, we're a little shocked and disappointed, if we're being honest. Well, that's all we have for this witness. So as always, love your family, love your pets, love your neighbors, and we'll see you next time.